Morning, everyone. Good morning, Renita. Thanks for joining me. We're going to get started in a moment. So we're top of the hour and looking forward to letting some of the folks come into the session here today. So let's just give it another 30 or 60 seconds on the clock here, Renita, and then we'll get started, huh?
Okay.
Thursday morning. You can see my screen, I assume, too. Just a little check, Renita.
I can see your screen, and yeah, I see both of us as well. So I think we are good. I can hear you as well. So
Yeah, you got to run a podcast. We've all gotten much better at all these things. You know, someday kids are going to be saying, "Remember those days they did these podcast things?"
oh gosh.
So, anyways, I think we're getting close. We're at 8:01 on my side of the country, of the world, in California time. I know you're on the East Coast, so it'll be 11 o'clock. Yeah. So yeah, I think we'll just let's just roll into things. We got a nice little topic for today, and we'll just kick it off and say again, good day everyone, and welcome to this Fastman Customer Spotlight today. I'm Brian Lapointe, and joined by Renita Day. We both been working in the OpenText ecosystems for many years. Renita's a real highly skilled senior ECM consultant, been working in the content management, content server environment for many years, as I mentioned, right? And so anyways, and we're pleased to be bringing you today, we're pleased to really bring you a nice conversation that we had with Jessica Johnson, who's a senior business analyst from Sonoma County Public Utility District. Short, we might use the acronym SnoPUD during the presentation today. And they're a longtime OpenText customer in the utility space, and they're located in Everett, Washington State, and that's about maybe 30 miles north of Seattle. Okay, just for just understand where they are. Worth mentioning, Jessica has well over 10 years of working with OpenText, and she also frequently speaks at the OpenText events about best practices in content management. And today we are going to dive deeper into how SnoPUD uses OpenText content management in conjunction with Fastman tools to really achieve a high impact and provide a solid information governance foundation. So with that, would you like to say hello to the audience and have any thoughts you'd like to share, Renita, before we get going?
Yeah, so thanks, Brian, for the introduction, and hello, everyone. Yeah, I think talking to Jess and team for SnoPUD usually gives me great insight, because they are very effectively using their content management system. They have multiple integration, extended ECM for SAP being one of them. They do records management, and they're on OT Cloud as well, right? So the self-service bit becomes important for them, I guess. And yeah, they always give me good ideas on how our products are being utilized there, which functionality help them, and how they effectively use that to manage their daily work. So yeah, excited about the webinar.
Yeah, great. No, I think there's a lot to be learned from a team like that utilizes many of the different OpenText themselves, have built a nice, precise team with a good knowledge base, but uses all the different resources in the ecosystem to achieve, the outcomes they're getting. So good. All right. So without further ado, why don't we get started here? We just work. There we go. So first, just give me a second to allow me to properly introduce Fastman. The company's been working in the OpenText ecosystem for almost 20 years with a deep expertise within the OpenText content management, system, formerly known as Extended ECM platform, or you may have known it as other names too. We currently run 3 strong business lines, popularly known as managed services, managed agreements, and most relevant for today is the Fastman management suite. And this is our out-of-the-box toolkit that will enhance any OpenText content management deployment by increasing the precision of your information governance, and as a result, prepare you for, even future content aviator. Everything's moving in that AI aviator direction. And so the Fastman Management Suite is very much a foundational self-service suite that'll help you prepare the content management platform for it. And then within the OpenText ecosystem, Fastman holds several distinguishing achievements. We're a proud solution extension partner of OpenText, for which the Fastman Management Suite is readily available to purchase. And we also have ISV, system integrator status, and we're OT, all our products are OT Cloud certified for the OpenText content management platform. So that's important to mention too. So as we have a little bit of theme on the management suite, let's take a closer look at it. It's essentially an all-inclusive solution tailored to manage your business data. Our suite of products will work together seamlessly, and they increasing their effectiveness and giving you complete control over your data, your users, and your business. Additionally, it reduces the cost of compliance per item managed, which is really a key metric in measuring the return on investment and success of any information management system like OpenText content management. Another benefit is for the enterprise application owners in the organizations. These are must-have tools will help you demonstrate content security compliance to your internal audit, for your internal audit processes or external audit folks and so forth too. So very helpful in that area. And let's see here. And let's take a look, another closer look, and as we browse through the individual components, you'll find that the integrated user interfaces make even complex tasks easier to manage with minimal training and without the need for complex and expensive scripts or specialized IT support. This is where the self-service side comes in. It's tools you can use in your own operation without the need of a consultant. And by simplifying data migrations, functional access, simplifying permissions, temporary access, you can safely deploy more use cases and accelerate your overall OpenText adoption. And as we enter the age of AI-powered decisions and systems, it's really critical to keep your systems finely tuned, right? This is what this is all about, making sure the systems are running secure and efficiently and effectively and in good governance. And we find that we do find that our customers will purchase, whether it's the entire suite or individual components based on their specific needs. In SnoPUD's situation, they're a longtime user of the Fastman Permissions Manager and the Bulk Data Manager solutions for OpenText content management. Okay, Renee, how about we bring Jessica in and learn about their OpenText journey. We'll do that right now, and feel free, folks, to ask any questions you may have. Put it into the chat. We'll after the interview, we'll come back and we'll take on some of those questions right here in a little Q&A session if you like. Okay. So without further ado, let me bring Jessica in right now. Here we go. All right. So at this point, how about we just transition a little more and do a little bit of a deep dive into SnoPUD, how they've been using the tools, and let's just talk a little bit about how SnoPUD is a utility. It was established a long time ago in 1936, essentially for the purpose of providing publicly owned electric and water utility service to the people of Sonoma County. Its history is linked to the what they call as the public power movement in the Pacific Northwest. And since it operates in a highly regulated industry, it's important to maintain robust records management and document control for its critical infrastructure. Hence they selected OpenText content management as their top choice there. So Jessica, would you like to kind of introduce yourself more and then explain to the audience your primary use cases for OpenText content management?
Yeah, you bet. So I'm Jess Johnson, and I've had the unique opportunity to have been working at the district for a total of about 15 years now, and the first 10 of that was spent in IT. And so when I was in IT, I did actually a lot of working on permissions and provisioning access. And so these last 5 years have been spent in data and information governance. And so naturally, when I came here to dig, I sort of gravitated towards that aspect. And one of the things that I really appreciate about Content Server and OpenText is that it really allows, it gives the power to manage access really to the people who own the data, right? And I think that's really important. It gives them to the people in the business. And then one of the things that I really appreciate about Permissions Manager is that they allow those people to do it well, right? So we actually have licenses that allow our super users, we allow them to have access to this tool as well, so that they can really get in and have those same privileges and ability that we have to do some of those things that we highlighted in some of those earlier slides. And as you mentioned, as a government entity, we are often tasked with providing a snapshot or information about not just who has access now, but maybe who had access when. And sometimes it's not even a matter of who has the access, but how they got the access, you know, um, who was authorized to provide the access. And that's something that, Microsoft doesn't really or didn't really have going for, in the past when we were on-prem. And so this tool has been amazing for us to be able to feel confident in our being able to meet our compliance standards.
Great. So well, let's just dive in a little more. And then, talk about how you've been using the system and go over your SnoPUD journey. Um, can we take a look at how you're keeping the lights on at SnoPUD, Jessica?
Yeah, you bet. So right about in 2012, we just knew that as a government entity, like I said before, that we needed the ability to have that retention and that electronic discovery. It was paramount to our journey forward. And as I mentioned, again, we are subject to public records, the Public Records and Disclosure Act. And so as such, we do have to provide within reason documents that the public asks for, right? So our on-premise infrastructure just was woefully inadequate. We didn't have any tools or the ability to be able to produce that stuff when it was required of us. So at the time, again, because we had a vast majority of our documents in SAP, OpenText really seemed like a great fit for us because of its ability to connect and have that be that repository for those SAP documents. It was pretty straightforward move for us, and our security for the SAP portion was also very straightforward, right? But when we decided to add our unstructured data, because again, we've had this repository over here that has great ability for this retention, has this amazing ability to have a lifecycle management and e-discovery, we thought, hey, we're going to go ahead and pick up these other documents that we have and throw that in there too. We had to come out and sort of design or decide what we wanted to do with that type of security. And as I mentioned before earlier, we have a few different ways that we manage that or grant that type of access, right? So the nice thing about it again was that by being able to be thoughtful and come up with that plan for those groups that we created, and then having a tool like this to be able to spot check our work and find out where there were any hiccups and be able to easily rectify those, it made the process really easy. And then, of course, with bulk data management, which of course I don't think we've gotten to yet, we had to lift that information and get it in there somewhere. So I know we're kind of giving us a spoiler alert, but how do we get that information in there when you have this vast amount of information sitting on your sitting on your resident share over here, on-prem share? get it into our cloud repository. So luckily, you guys had a solution for us for that too. So
Great. All right. And Renita, what do you think of this journey they've been on? It's something you've seen in
Right.
your history,
Oh,
huh?
yeah. Yeah, I think this is very common across organizations where they go for the content management platform for the records management capability, the search capability, and as they go in, they realize that they can integrate it with their lead apps, create business workspaces for that, connect that process with the unstructured data. And as that system grows, they realize they have to bring other divisions in, maintain the permissions properly. So it was like a natural progression that they went for permission manager and bulk data manager there. So I don't see any surprises there.
Right. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
Okay, for this next section, we're going to take a closer look at where the Fastman tools are having a high impact for SnoPUD. And deployed at SnoPUD, they have two Fastman solutions, such as Permissions Manager and Bulk Data Manager. And I have a question for you, Jessica. What's your favorite Fastman tool and why?
it's like Sophie's choice, right? You're making me pick one. That's terrible.
Sophie's choice.
Yeah, it's tough because they are so highly specialized. They're specialized in their uses. And, I can't imagine doing my job without either of them. So, I think one of the things I can tell you what one of my favorite things is in Permissions Manager. I think one of them, of course, is the ability to compare users or compare, being able to compare groups. When I compare users, I think that's one of the first things that I do whenever when I'm troubleshooting or when I'm going to provision a new hire. When you're looking to onboard somebody, or there's been some really big issues that I've been able to resolve just when I have to, when somebody just says that they're unable to do something, and I can just pull that up and see that something's out there. I also use, I've been able to fix issues where there's just maybe one or two folders that are an issue in an entire share, and I don't have to make changes to the entire repository. That's been a huge time saver, and I have like a cool example of that I can share later. Um, but I guess without Bulk Data Manager, there wouldn't be a lot for me to do in this arena because a lot of our permissions are managed through the SAP roles. And so that's kind of automatic hands off for as far as permissions are concerned. A lot of our permissions get a little dicey when we're talking about when people can manage the permissions, and there's groups that come into play, and there's specific permissions that you can apply at a folder level. I mean, permissions can get very granular in Content Server, which is one of the things we love about it, right? You can create this really finite, granularity of permissions, but we know that can also go a little haywire when you're trying to figure out why a person can't do something, move a document or get into a folder or do something they need to do. And so this is a tool that you need to be able to get into to utilize that. So without, which came first, the chicken or the egg, without Bulk Data Manager sometimes to get that information in there, and I love Bulk Data Manager and the way that you can save yourself a lot of headache and a lot of work by really filtering out some of that stuff before you even get it in there, which I think I talk about a little bit more later on too. So
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about.
Well, so next up, like one of the scenarios we have here is about using, a popular feature within content management system called collections, right? So how do you use collections?
I've used collections quite a few times when I am trying to, somebody's asked me for a subject matter that I've had to search for, and I want to be able to give them the ability to access that information, but not try to make them go hunt for it everywhere. So a lot of times, like if I want to compile that information in one place, but not move the data to that same place. So that's a lot of times the way that I will use a collection. I know there's numerous other uses for it, but that's the first one that comes to mind. How I've used collections in the past is just a really quick and easy way to give somebody a slice of things if I'm doing the searching for them, and be able to just give them a shortcut to where it's at.
And then one of the popular features our customers talk to us about is being able to run Permissions Manager on that container. So when you're
Yes,
sharing
and that's
that,
how you give them the rights. Exactly. I guess I buried the lead there. Yes. So one of the nice things is again, when I'm putting something together for, like, let's say legal, and I want them to be able to get access to these documents that might be responsive, one of the problems is the documents that I'm pulling from might be all across the district in places they would never have access to. But in this particular instance, I can easily grant them that temporary access or that access to that collection so that they can easily get that in one place, again, without compromising the information or changing anything, moving that information.
Right.
So it's a great tool to be able to do that.
Good point. And we've mentioned this a few times about compare and copy group membership. Feel free to add a few more comments about that.
Oh yeah, copy group membership is a lifesaver. I don't know how many times, especially when I used to work again in the help desk, when somebody would say, this person's taking over for this person. I need them to have the same permissions as that person. It's so difficult when if you didn't know what that person had, how do you copy what they have? And so many times we find that in the Microsoft environment when it's a matter of having specific permissions on a specific folder. And so we try to do everything with the group memberships. And so it's really easy to actually pull up that user and visibly see the group memberships that they belong to. And copying is as easy as you have a little check mark and a button, and you can just click the little buttons to one side and make it so that their profile is exactly the same. And so that's super simplistic, super great. And so many times it's very easy in a troubleshooting standpoint too, because the groups that we have that are provisioned through SAP look completely different than the groups that we build. And so a lot of times if we're not sure if something should be provisioned through SAP or an SAP role, it's really nice to be able to pull them up side by side too and be able to say, oh, actually you do have all the groups that this person is supposed to have granted by the business. And if you don't have access to something that they have, it's because the only roles they have that you don't have is an SAP assigned role, which means that you've missed a step and you need to go through and ask for that role in SAP. So we can kind of boot them back to the SAP group and say, go through that, GRC request, go through that SAP request and get what you need through there. And that's been incredibly helpful many times because it would be possible technically for somebody to go in and granularly, again, specifically grant them rights to that folder, but that would be breaking a policy, breaking a rule, because they don't technically have the SAP rights to see the data on the SAP side.
Yeah. No, I mean, it brings you a lot of good help desk tools to kind of triage a situation so you can kind of get to the bottom of it really quickly without going down a path you don't want to go down.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. So we're going to move on. One more slide here. You've brought it up a few times as one of your favorites here, the bulk data manager tool. Anything to comment about this?
Yeah, I mean, I use Bulk Data Manager quite a lot. I transfer, because what I do first is I sort of clean up the information, or we kind of help the users clean up their information in their current on-premise environment. And then we build sort of the dream folder structure that we want to do, and then we migrate it into our area that we're going to have in Content Server. And one of the things that I really appreciate about the ability to do that is that the metadata that we have in our environment on premise comes over into the cloud. And one of the reasons why that's so important is because you can imagine if I were dragging and dropping or moving this stuff on my own, new dates would come over. So the date would show today's date, it would show my name on it. Nobody wants to see the documents. You know in Content Server, you can search by who created the document, when the document was created. That is not helpful. And especially when we talk about cleanup, I tell my folks, clean up as best as you can, but it's okay to put some of this stuff into Content Server, because when we put lifecycle management on the documents in Content Server, the trash is going to take itself out, right? Because we're going to put retentions on these things. And if they're over a certain date, they will come up for retention. They will come up for disposition, that we can go ahead and delete them through process, right? If the metadata is correct. Another thing that I really appreciate is it gives you the option before you import the information to go ahead and create an Excel spreadsheet to actually look it over first. And so many times we found in our system that even when you're filtering out, system files, Windows doesn't quite think that a thumbnail is a system file, right? And so they come over and we get bogged down with all these stupid thumbnails. We can go ahead and sort that Excel file by thumbnails, delete those lines. And then when we import, we're not importing these ridiculous thumbnails that don't do us any good in Content Server, right? So little hacks like that, and then we can go ahead and continue the process, but do the upload from that Excel spreadsheet, and we're getting just good, clean data with that metadata. So there's a lot of really cool things you can do with the Excel spreadsheets. You can combine Excel spreadsheets. There's a lot of neat things that you can do there when you get used to using BDM. And so, yeah, it's a great tool, and it works really well and really quickly. And it gives you, the logs are super, super invaluable. So many times we will validate everything that we bring in, because we want to make sure that our users are confident that everything that they transferred or everything that they have got transferred in. The logs will tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt the things that didn't come in, and you can go back and try to figure out why. And many times it's something simple, path was too long or something happened with that particular document. You can move it over manually.
Great. All right. So I think we're coming up on time, to be honest with you. So Renita, anything to comment about the bulk data manager before I kind of wrap things up?
Yes, I just wanted to say that it works great with cloud deployments because the footprint for BDM is very, very less. It relies totally on the APIs provided by content management. We have just a small service that needs to be deployed, which you can do on-prem or on cloud. So connecting to a cloud-hosted content management is really simple, right? And what just said, loading, updating attribute becomes really easy with that. Yep.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Renita, for spending time with Fastman today and sharing your valuable insights to the OpenText content management community. I know that the Fastman technical delivery team really enjoys working with SnoPUD over these years, and we're especially proud to play an important part in your journey from as you went from on-prem content management to the OT cloud, and maybe beyond with Content Aviator.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Now I'm coming back and getting a few questions in too. Let's just, and we're back, Renita, huh?
Yeah. Jess is great, right?
Isn't she? Yeah, no, I run into her many times at different OpenText events. I was at a government summit in DC this year, and obviously OpenText World last year. That one's coming up again in November this year too. So yeah, it's great. So let's see how we doing on time. Okay, yeah, plenty of time. So I guess what I'd say, is, as a consultant and technology provider like Fastman, there's nothing really like hearing directly from these our customers. That's the best part of the job, quite frankly, and really about the value and benefits they receive from the software. Us as a vendor, consultant, we're always listening too for ways that we can adapt the technology in our products to kind of better serve you too. We're always looking for better features and things like that. So any kind of input like that is great. So I know you already shared a couple comments. Any other thoughts top of mind, Renita, from the presentation?
No, I think Jess touched upon a few of our important features, the bulk changes and things like that. And it just showcased how they use the system, with our products to enable more self-service without relying on a third person or a third party to do that for him, reduces the development cycle overall, and just makes it available for the end users to go plug it and play with it, right? And the visibility that it provides them while they're doing their job, to be absolutely sure that they have done what they were starting to achieve from the tool. So yeah, I think she spoke about it really well and demonstrated a few scenarios around that.
Good, good, good. Hey, I got some interesting questions coming in through the screen right now, the chat, the polls, not polls, but actually the question section it is. Rollback. And it's asked in two perspectives. So the first way they're asking about rollback is with the bulk data manager solution. So it's like, hello, is it possible to do a rollback with BDM? And I think the question's coming to us because they know that's a popular feature within Permissions Manager, the rollback permissions. So I'll let you handle that. I guess we could do an update, but we don't necessarily keep track and do the rollback, right?
No, we can't. But what you could do is for most of our work, right, we have the spreadsheet which gets generated as part of the process. Is a wizard-driven process. So you see the spreadsheet first where you validate the data, and there is an export option in there, right? So let's say that you are doing update attribute, you would want to save the values which were originally there, which might be blank values or an older value. Just save the Excel sheet, do the update, and if tomorrow you think something was not correct, you can do another update with the previous data, right? It's not essentially a rollback, but there are ways in which you can save the spreadsheet before you do the update, right? That's true for update attribute, not so much for load taxonomy. In that case, I'll just say go search and delete the data, and
right.
Yeah, you are back to the position, right?
With load taxonomy, you're basically migrating data from an external source into, so rolling back, pulling out data would be difficult. BDM is very much a, it's like a Swiss Army knife, right? It's another way to live. So it doesn't just do one thing. I mean, there's a bunch of modules in there people like. They use it to bring data into the system. Taxonomy of content coming in through folders and documents and nicely loading them into business workspaces. But later on, going back to fix the metadata or update attributes or update or apply even records management stuff, right? And beyond that, we see people using it. But that's a good idea because you can go in with the update attributes, query, maybe even run a save search, run it from a save search. And then before you run any or make any changes, you can save off the Excel spreadsheet. And then you have a record of your stuff. It's manual, but at least it's a Swiss Army knife's manual too, right? And then if you feel comfortable making changes, and you can measure the delta, I guess, at that point.
Yep, exactly.
I think there was another question, and you'll see in the panel about rollback on Permissions Manager and how far back it goes. So I'll let you maybe take that on.
That totally depends upon you. There is an admin setting which tells you how far back you want to go. You can leave it blank as well, but it depends upon your audit table. Like we rely on the permission audit changes, which gets recorded into the system. So let's say that you didn't enable your permission audit. In that case, you can only go back when you started doing that, right? Otherwise, there is no limit. These are the two driving factors for the permission rollback. So it's pretty out of the box. Usually permission changes are always recorded unless you go and disable it from the audit event administration.
I guess the one thing I would add to it is that for the rollback feature, if say you want to fix permissions or roll back permissions, if you had the audit, if you were logging in the audit trail the permissions, right, you could actually install Permissions Manager and roll back before Permissions Manager was even there. Right? So people have basically purchased the Permissions Manager from us to fix a problem because they wanted to roll back to a time before. So you don't have to have Permissions Manager installed to be able to to track on all that. We don't add any special tables or anything.
And the good part of it is there is a preview page as well where it lists down all the objects that you're trying to roll back. And then it also tells you exactly what was changed. So there are columns which tells you effectively what got modified, updated, and added to the permission ACLs. And if you click on it, you get more details about it as well. So it's very comprehensive when we do it. So
yeah, you see that throughout any of the products. That's kind of one of the nice things that we do in the design part of the products, is that we give those a little better robust previews, right? When you do it out of the box, sometimes you click the button and it goes, and then it's not showing you on screen what's happening, right? With Permissions Manager, it does a nice job of showing you the preview of what's going to happen. It calculates ahead of time what's going to occur, and then it lets you choose to run it or not. You know, you may say, oh, this is going to be too large of a job that I have to run, and then you could, oh, maybe I'll do it, you know, over the weekend or at another time when I have more time to watch this. But then at the end, it gives you it does a nice job of giving you the results of what occurred. So. Yeah, we keep getting some good questions. How many objects can be processed with the rollback of Permissions Manager? Just to stay on the rollback.
There's an admin setting where you can say how many objects can be rolled back during any, cascade operation. Like if you are selecting a high-level folder that it has sub-items, if it exceeds the limits that you have set in your admin pages, it actually gives you a message that you are trying to update more items or roll back permissions for more items than what is the admin specified number. However, there's a catch to it. We also provide bypass privileges to certain group of users, which again an admin can set. So basically for everyone else that limit would come up, they'll get the message, and for this extra set of people, what would happen is they will get the message and also get a continue button so that they can move forward with the rollback operation, right? So it really depends upon your system, how you want to set it. We do give some recommendations there, but you can change that value. And then obviously there is also a bypass option to bypass that limit for super users or business administrators or admins,
Yeah, and you could target specific sections of your OpenText system for rollback. It's not like you have to roll back everything. You can target specific areas in the hierarchy, maybe the way you have it set up to roll back to a different time. And it's nice. We don't actually put limits of what it is. It really comes down to how much data you have for us to roll back on, right? It's really, we don't put any limits there, but we do put controls in place. So if you don't want people to have the ability to roll everything back, you can set the limit. And then we even have a special, like if you want certain like business administrators or certain groups or certain users to be able to override it, we give you the ability to configure and override. So it's that kind of thoughtfulness that goes into the design of the tool. So that's another, actually, getting some good questions today, quite frankly. Can you roll back the content of a collection?
Yes, you can. So anything that you see in the dashboard for a normal folder, you would get it for a collection as well. You could select the items from a collection and then use the rollback button on that.
Yeah, someone's trying to stump the joke master here with that one, I think. That's a comedy comment there. But yeah, that's a good question. If you can see the object, you can roll it back.
Yeah. You should have edit permissions on it. Yeah.
Hey, BDM questions coming up. Maybe I'll take this one. How's it licensed? One license for everyone who needs to use it. Now, so BDM is licensed by production instance. So you buy one, it's actually a very easy licensing model. You just buy the bulk data manager. It's licensed per production instance and up to 3 other non-prod environments if you want to use it there, of course. There's no user limits. So we don't count the users, and there's no document or content limits. So it's just a production license. So one license, and then you have it for the whole production environment, and you don't have to keep track of users or keep track from a licensing perspective on the the number of pages or documents that you transfer into it. It does, it is a robust application. It does have user management tied to it, so it does control what users can do. And it also respects the security model. So you essentially log into BDM using your content server credentials. And it does a nice job of, if you have single sign-on, we support many of the different SSO configurations that are out there too. So that's how a lot of people do it. And then it works with the OT cloud. So you can configure it with the OT cloud very nicely. So if you're hosting it with an OT or someone else's cloud, where you don't necessarily have full control or administrative control, it's a nice tool for you to do that. And it's self-service again. You know what I mean? You don't have to be a developer to use it. And a central IT can kind of make it available to their business users, and then it gives you nice controls to configure business scenarios with our profiles. So you can have multiple scenarios using this, and you can run multiple instances of BDM. So yeah, I could be using it right now to upload a whole bunch of content. Renita could also be using it to do anything else herself. She could also be loading more content into the system for her business process. You can have it across the board, however, and it's all straight through the APIs and so forth. So it's a good product like that. What else? So following up on that, I see, yeah, so I'm just going through the grid here on the GoToWebinar. Can your BDM tool be deployed to our business users, or does it require professional services? So that follows up on kind of what I just said. It's a very configurable tool where the technical team can configure it for the business users to use it as they need to. You know what I mean by a profile? Like when they're loading content in, and say it's a repeatable process like onboarding, whether it's in an HR or accounting or even an engineering scenario, they always need to load to a certain location and apply certain types of metadata a certain way. You can configure the profiles where it only shows you those elements, so you can streamline the process. And then even you can apply mandatory fields through BDM, even if it's not mandatory in the category in content server, right? So that's a nice thing too. Just and it's just to make sure you get the data in as best you can. And then, like, I have customers who use it too. Later on, if something changes, which does happen frequently, we have a new naming convention or a new whatever we have to do, and we got to go back in there and update en masse. It's a great tool for updating the metadata after the fact, right? So. Transmission speed on BDM when you're loading, what's your thoughts on how fast it is, Renita, or how would you factor that, the speed of bulk data manager? I guess we do it with two things: we're loading content in or updating content, right?
Yeah, it really depends actually, because like when I do the updates, I'm usually in US and doing it on a demo environment, which is in Australia. So there's latency and things like that. And I think for customers as well, that would be a factor, whether they're on-prem, cloud, etc. How are they set up with the infrastructure and database and things like that, right? But having said that, what really matters is we do give a little bit of a statistics at the very end of a load. So you can use that information to kind of see how long your jobs are going to take. The other good factor is we allow you to schedule tasks within a 24-hour window. So what really you can do is, if you think this job is going to take 6 hours for you to run based on a sample that you ran, you could schedule it to run at 6 p.m. Your time, so that when the system is not that loaded, it can hit and update the system. Because when you do update, it affects a lot of aspects of your content management system, right? So you like to plan it for bigger loads. So I would say it really depends on your infrastructure, but there are ways in which you can help yourself to do bigger loads. So
yeah, those statistics come in handy because you can run a test, right? A small test, and you can take that and extrapolate it based on what you need to do. And that's part of the project. You can basically test it, make sure it works well, and then let it run. So you don't have to babysit it as much. And then you get the nice log files. We give you a nice log file, which is basically another way of quality control checking that everything run the way I expected. So when you come back, you look at the log file and see if it's okay, or if you see if there's any errors, you can determine what to do, rather than just running some script, some job, hoping that everything was done. This gives you a little bit more quality control, I would say, when you run a tool like this. I think we got a little more time. Yeah, we got time. Email files. Someone's asking about email files. I need to load a large amount of email files and voicemails for archival. So I guess non-documents, right? Emails are documents, but it says voicemail files here. Can you do that? You can do that. Of course you can.
Yeah. Anything that you can upload in content server, you can upload in using BDM. We are just using the web services, right? So as long as that's allowed by your content management system, it would be allowed by BDM. For low taxonomy, there's not really a limit. Maybe depending upon our web server settings, if there is a size limitation on that, then obviously that would come into picture. But otherwise, we are pretty okay with emails or voicemails coming in the system.
Okay, comparing users. Can I easily compare permissions between multiple or two users and then make the updates? This is a big pain point for my business users.
Yeah, that's one of the important points that Jess also kind of like touched upon when she was explaining their use cases. We do have a compare group feature where you can type into people's details and it shows the groups in which they are part of, whether they are coming from AD, something that you have created in OTDS, or an SAP or a leading application authorization that gets created as a group. So you can see that side by side, and then if you're maintaining everything in content server, then you can also copy over the groups very easily with that. If it is AD or SAP or any other lead app, obviously you have to go back and request access from there. But it gives you a good overview kind of a thing.
Yeah, get like what Jess was saying, you get that side by side view, right?
Yeah.
So that's, I can say, here's Renita, here's Brian's access, what's the delta, and then the way they have it set up, they can make the changes. And then again, they're in the OT cloud, so having the more self-service they can have on their side, the better, right? Rather than having to put a request or a question into a central help desk. That's kind of what they're trying to eliminate there, so they can respond quickly.
Yeah, and if it is like an AD or an SAP thing, then it's an internal process that they have to follow through. Maybe if it is adding to a OTDS group or something like that, it's a bit more involved from the content server side. So determining where that access gap is, I think it's important for them so that they can contact the right team to get things sorted out.
Okay. I got an AI question here. Can you give me an example how Permissions Manager can reduce the risk with AI? They didn't say Content Aviator, but they were just talking about AI. But Content Aviator is the open text module that you can deploy on top of the content server for doing, natural, like Copilot type natural language queries and stuff, right?
Yeah, I think what really happens with the Aviator bit is when you ask a question within a workspace or something, it tries to give you an answer depending upon where you have permission on, right? Which is great. But what if you have something enabled for you where you were not supposed to see that content? You get a response back very easily as well, right? So if there are cracks in your permission model, you are exposing your data very easily to a person who shouldn't be accessing that data, right? Earlier, I may have to like dig through the system to go to that information. Right now, I can just ask a question and get things sorted out. So A, identifying where the cracks are. B, fixing it, because we also provide you bulk update tools like copy, replace, search features, which help you in targeting those cracks and then fixing them in bulk as well. So I guess that should sort out issues where you ask a question and get a response you're not supposed to get.
Yep. I mean, I think you have to ensure that stuff's all compliant probably before you can, depending on the scenario and the content you want to run, right? So OpenText, by its own nature, the content management platform is a very secure place to keep things. And then you got to be able to prove to people, probably, maybe you do, but I would assume you got to have a good policy to make sure everything's compliant. So Permissions Manager just increases that. And then I would even add in with BDM, it helps. Bulk Data Manager helps in a variety of ways too, because say you want to deploy a solution on that you want to run content AI or Content Aviator on unstructured documents in your organization, whether it's engineering files, legal briefs, HR documents, whatever they may be, from those business workspaces. How do you get it in? You're assuming everyone's all I don't know if you are assuming, but you may be assuming that everything's in content server already, which is not always the case, right? So you may have some stuff in there, but then to get a pilot project off the ground that brings value to a business, they may have it in other areas, silos, you know, and that's the reality is people have things in silos. So eliminating your silos and consolidating it to a safe platform allows you to run AI. BDM helps you bring silo data in a structured way, apply records management to it also, so that once it's in there, you can basically age it out. You know, you can have a nice, and that's what Jessica was talking about. They have a nice policy. They bring content into content server from external sources. They have shared drives, set retention while they're doing it, and that's one of the best way that through disposition and so forth, they can you know eliminate the content that doesn't need to be there. And then keep the metadata. So you need metadata, records management, all that stuff goes into getting the best results.
Yeah, like AI is reading everything. If it is an expired data or not, it doesn't know until it's deleted from the system, right? So unless you have your RM set up correctly to destroy that information, it would come up as a result to a query, which may be correct, which may not be correct, depending upon the, you know, whether that data is relevant anymore or not. So yeah.
So both tools play a big role, I think, in the life cycle of deploying AI solutions, and also a quick way to get a win. You know what I mean? You want to show a proof of concept to somebody. Both data manager can bring content in from external sources into content server. The Aviator actually works. If you've played with it, or used it, it actually works really well. And then you know you can show off the value right there, and then from there you know grow the usage as you need. So I got a question, just a quick one for evaluations. We do have, if anyone wants to do an evaluation of any of these solutions, just reach out to Renita or myself. Yes, we do them. You know, permissions manager is a quick install. It's kind of easy. BDM, you know, is easy too, but it's just a little more. You got to have your own little install it on a server. Whereas permissions manager is really just a module that goes into your content server. So there's no additional VMs or anything like that required to run it. BDM's a client-based application with a small footprint of a deployment server. So that's all you have to really consider there. We could take you through the architecture when it's appropriate. But we're not talking massive systems, but there's something. It's always something to be considered and get approved through your security team. Any other last comments, Renita, before we sign off?
No, I think we had great questions today, right? Like very good mixed bag of things that were asked. So yeah, I'm glad we had the webinar and the questions came in.
Yeah, great customer with SnoPUD. They've, like I said, been in the open. They started on-prem with open text content, and then they gradually moved to the cloud. They've got extended ECM, like we kept mentioning, extended ECM integrations. Went from just being folder structure to using business workspaces. So they use all the goodness of the platform. That's kind of one of the things I like about them.
Oh yeah.
So and it just goes to show keeping your systems modern, right, allows you to get more value from them, quite frankly. So and that's kind of what they've been doing too, is keeping their system modern. Okay, well, thank you everyone for this. And again, Brian Lapointe, Renita Day, anything we can do from Fastman, reach out. You can just take a picture of that barcode to get a hold of us real quick too. That's why we put it up there. And again, thanks for everyone coming today, and enjoy the month. All right, thanks everyone. Bye for now.